The mail came late that morning, just after the sun burned through the fog hanging over the yard. I was drinking coffee on the porch, same routine I'd kept for 3 years, since the day she'd stopped answering my calls. The dog barked once when the mail truck pulled away, and that was the only sound, until I heard the soft thud of the envelope landing on the wooden steps. I almost didn't pick it up. White paper, no return address, handwriting I'd know anywhere. Her slanted R, the way she used to sign birthday cards when she was 12. My fingers trembled before I even opened it. The smell of ink and something faintly floral hit me, same perfume she used to wear when she'd come home from college. "Dad," it began. "I know what I've done will hurt you. But you need to know before you hear it from someone else." That line sat in my chest like a stone. I read it twice, 3 times. Then I saw his name, the one name I'd sworn never to speak again. He'd been my partner once, a man I trusted more than a brother. We built a business from scratch, fought through the lean years together, then watched it grow, until he gutted me for his own gain. A hostile buyout, lies in court, and one night that ended with me standing alone in a half-empty office while he celebrated in the same bar we used to plan our future in. And now, 3 years later, my daughter wrote. I married him. That's when I dropped the letter. It landed face down on the porch, wind trying to drag it away. For a second, I let it. But then I bent down and picked it up again, not because I forgave her, but because I needed to read every word. She wrote that they'd kept it secret because they didn't think I'd understand. That they were happy. That she wished I could meet him again, with an open heart. I could almost hear her voice in that, soft, pleading, naive. But beneath it all was the echo of his. I knew the cadence of manipulation too well. That was the moment the old wound opened. I thought it had scarred over, but no, it just waited for a reason to bleed. I sat there until the sun slipped behind the trees, holding the letter like it might burn through my hands. I didn't cry. Not then. I just kept reading that one line, "We married last spring." Spring. The same season I sold the last piece of the company he stole from me. I could almost laugh at the symmetry. Almost. When the dog started whining at the door, I finally went inside and placed the letter on the kitchen table. I poured myself a drink I hadn't touched in years, bourbon, the old brand we used to toast with after every deal. The glass shook as I lifted it. I whispered to the empty room, "You took my business, now you've taken my blood." That's when the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go, but something made me answer. A woman's voice, gentle, hesitant. "Mr. Rhodes? This is Evelyn. I'm calling on behalf of your daughter." My chest tightened. "What about her?" "She asked me to send a package if you received her letter. Said it would explain everything." I looked toward the porch, the mail still scattered there. "What kind of package?" I asked. A pause. "Then, she said you'd know what to do once you saw what's inside." And that was when I understood, this wasn't just about marriage. This was about something deeper, darker. I realized she wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking for help. The next morning broke gray and quiet, like the house itself was holding its breath. I hadn't slept, just sat in the kitchen with that letter spread out before me, reading the same sentences until the ink seemed to blur. Around 6, I heard the crunch of tires on the gravel drive. When I looked through the curtain, I saw the courier step out with a small brown parcel in his hands. No markings, no sender, just my name written across the top in that same familiar hand. I signed without a word. The man nodded, left. I didn't open it right away. I made coffee first, slow and deliberate, watching the dark liquid swirl like I was trying to read my own future in it. Then I slit the tape and lifted the lid. Inside, wrapped in a folded piece of newspaper, was a flash drive and a photograph. The photo hit me first, my daughter, standing on a pier somewhere I didn't recognize, sunlight in her hair. And next to her, him. The same sharp jawline, same smug calm I remembered from the courtroom. Only this time his hand rested on her shoulder like he owned her. Like he was reminding me who'd won. Under the picture was a note, short and scrawled in her hand. "Dad, if anything happens to me, look at what's on this drive. And don't trust anyone who calls you before Friday." My stomach went cold. Anything happens to me. The words tasted like metal. I plugged the drive into the old laptop I kept in the study. There were only 2 files, one video, one folder labeled Ledger. I opened the folder first. Dozens of scanned documents appeared, contracts, invoices, and what looked like wire transfers. Most of them bore the name of his new company, the same name that had replaced mine when he took everything. Only this time, the sums were different. Huge. Illicit. Offshore accounts. Shell companies tied to a charity I remembered my daughter saying she helped with. And then I saw her name. Her signature on a board approval form dated 6 months ago. That's when I understood, she wasn't just his wife. He'd pulled her into his schemes, maybe without her even realizing. I closed the laptop, tried to steady my hands. But before I could think further, the phone rang again. Same unknown number as last night. This time, I didn't hesitate. "Who is this?" Silence for a beat, then the faint hum of an engine. "Mr. Rhodes," the woman's voice again, "Evelyn. Did you get the package?" "I did." "Then you should leave your house for a few days. Somewhere quiet." "Why?" "Because your daughter isn't safe. And if she's not, neither are you." Her tone wasn't pleading now, it was firm, almost practiced. "Where is she?" I asked. Another pause. "She's gone missing since last night. Her husband reported her traveling unexpectedly. But I've seen the security footage. She didn't leave of her own will." The line crackled. I felt the blood drain from my face. I wanted to ask who she really was, police, private investigator, friend, but before I could, the call cut out. That was my first mistake, I stayed put instead of running. Telling myself I needed proof, I opened the video file. The screen flickered, and there she was, sitting at a desk, looking straight into the camera. No makeup, dark circles under her eyes. "Dad," she said quietly. "If you're watching this, then you already know about the money." I tried to stop him. He said if I told you, he'd destroy everything, your name, your business, me. But I found something he doesn't know I copied. She reached out a frame, held up a keycard and a folded sheet of paper. "There's a locker in Chicago, Union Station. Box 314. Inside you'll find what you need to make him answer for what he did to you. To both of us." Her lips trembled slightly, but she forced a small, brittle smile. "I know you hate him. You have every right. But if you go after him, promise me you won't do it the way you used to handle things. Promise me you'll stay safe." Then she whispered something, almost inaudible. I replayed it 3 times before I caught the words, "He's not the same man you remember." The screen went black. For a long while, I just sat there. The air in the room felt heavy, pressing against my chest. I could hear the ticking of the wall clock, each second louder than the last. When I finally stood, I knew what I had to do. Chicago was a day's drive from here. And if she'd left something for me, I wasn't going to let it sit there another night. I packed a small bag, clothes, the flash drive, her letter, and checked the drawer where I kept the old revolver. I hadn't touched it in years, but the weight of it in my hand felt unsettlingly natural. I left the house just before sunset. The dog watched me from the porch, head tilted, like he knew I wasn't coming back soon. As I backed out of the driveway, I caught my reflection in the mirror, an older man chasing ghosts again. But this time, the ghost had my daughter's face. I told myself it was about protecting her. But somewhere deep down, I knew it was also about something darker. I reached Chicago the next afternoon, after 11 hours of highway silence. The weather had turned, low clouds, steady drizzle, the kind that makes the whole city feel like it's holding secrets in the fog. I parked in a garage near Union Station, watching people hurry past with umbrellas, unaware that someone's whole life was unraveling right under their feet. The flash drive was still in my jacket pocket. I kept touching it, as if it could tell me what to expect. When I stepped inside the station, the air smelled of rain-soaked coats and burnt coffee. The announcements echoed faintly across the high ceiling. For a moment, I stood there, just another old man with a story nobody cared to hear. Locker 314 was down a side corridor, the kind people only use when they're trying not to be seen. Half the lights flickered. I had the paper she'd held in the video, a copied access code she'd scrawled in the corner. The keypad was sticky under my fingers. When the door clicked open, I half expected sirens. Inside was a manila envelope, thick, sealed with duct tape. Nothing else. I tore it open right there. Inside were 3 items, another flash drive, a printed ledger marked Phase 2, and a folded handwritten letter. Her handwriting again, rushed, uneven. Dad, if you're reading this, I had to leave before he found out I copied the second account. He's laundering through the charity, but it's not just money. It's data, names, favors. People in government, law. I don't know how deep it goes. I only know you can't go to the police. Some of them work for him now. There's one person you can trust, Evelyn. She used to work for him too. She's the one who showed me what he really is. Don't call her. She'll find you. Please, be careful. The rest of the letter was smudged, maybe from tears, maybe from rain. I stuffed everything into my bag and shut the locker. My pulse was hammering. Every instinct told me to get out of there, but as I turned, I noticed something. Across the hall, behind a column, a man in a dark coat was pretending to read a schedule. He wasn't waiting for a train. His eyes flicked toward me every few seconds. I started walking, casual at first, toward the exit that led to the food court. I'd done enough business in my life to recognize the rhythm of surveillance, not the amateurs, the professionals. Whoever he was, he knew I'd seen him. I took a left at the kiosk, slipped into a restroom, and waited. 1 minute. 2. No footsteps. When I finally stepped out, he was gone. Or maybe he'd never been there. That's when I realized, if Evelyn could find me, so could he. I left the station and ducked into a nearby diner. The waitress gave me a tired smile as she poured coffee. I sat in the back booth, facing the window. The second flash drive burned a hole in my pocket. I told myself I'd wait until night to look at it, but patience isn't something I've ever been good at. The files opened slower this time. Maybe the computer was too old, maybe I was shaking too hard. Inside were security videos, dozens of them, all time-stamped from the past 6 months. His office, boardrooms, hallways, private meetings. And in the center of every deal, him. My former partner. My enemy. Smiling that same rehearsed smile. But it wasn't just him. In several clips, there she was, my daughter, sitting at the edge of the frame, clearly uncomfortable, signing papers she didn't understand. One clip froze me. He handed her a folder, said something I couldn't hear, then leaned in close, whispering. Her shoulders tensed. She nodded once, too quickly. And then I saw another face, Evelyn. Younger than I imagined, sharp eyes, calm posture. She was in the background, watching him, not her. I understood then, she wasn't just helping, she'd been there the whole time. The last video was different, time-stamped 2 nights ago. My daughter in a dark room, corner of the screen. He entered, slammed something on the desk, shouted. The camera had no audio, but his body language was all rage. She tried to stand, he grabbed her wrist. She pulled free and said something that made him freeze. Then he left. The file cut off there. I replayed it again and again until I realized my coffee had gone cold. The waitress came by and asked if I wanted a refill. I nodded, though I didn't taste the next cup. I had half a mind to go straight to his office, to confront him then and there. But the note in her letter, "Don't trust anyone who calls before Friday," echoed in my head. It was Thursday. I decided to wait. One night. One more night to figure out who Evelyn really was, and what role she played in all of this. I checked into a cheap motel off Canal Street under a false name I'd used years ago in deals I shouldn't have made. The room smelled of bleach and old carpet. I locked the door, set the chair under the handle, and laid everything out on the bed, the letters, the drives, the photo. Outside, traffic murmured like distant waves. I thought of her, my little girl, building sandcastles on the beach, telling me once that she'd never keep secrets from me. That memory stung worse than any betrayal. Around midnight, I finally turned off the light. I was just drifting off when the phone in the room rang, that old, heavy plastic kind with a coiled cord. No one knew this number. I let it ring 3 times before I picked up. "Mr. Rhodes," a voice said softly. "You should have waited for me." It was Evelyn. And before I could answer, I heard a knock at the door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. That's when I understood, the game wasn't about business anymore. It was survival. The sound of those 3 knocks echoed in that cheap motel room like a heartbeat I couldn't steady. I didn't move at first, just sat there, the phone still pressed to my ear, the line dead now. My thumb brushed against the receiver's edge, and I realized my hand was sweating. Outside, someone shifted their weight. A shadow moved under the crack of the door, steady, patient. Whoever it was wasn't in a hurry. I reached into my bag and wrapped my hand around the revolver. It was cold, heavy, too familiar. My finger rested on the frame, not the trigger. Old habits. "Who's there?" I said. A pause. Then a voice, calm, female, steady. "It's me, Mr. Rhodes." "Evelyn. You can put the gun down." I didn't. "Slide your ID under the door," I said. A soft laugh, quick, quiet. "If I was here to hurt you, you wouldn't be asking that." She wasn't wrong. I opened the door 2 inches, the chain still latched. She stood there, mid-30s maybe, dark hair pulled back, wearing a rain-soaked trench coat. No umbrella. Eyes sharp, scanning everything in one glance. Not afraid. "May I come in?" she asked. I studied her face for a moment longer, then shut the door, slid off the chain, and stepped back. She entered like she'd already been there before, calm, methodical, eyes landing on the flash drives, the photos, the bourbon on the nightstand. "You've been busy," she said. "Not by choice," I replied. She nodded once, then looked straight at me. "She's alive." That was the first time I felt my knees weaken in days. "Where?" "Safe for now. But not for long if we don't move fast." I sat down on the edge of the bed. "You tell me where she is, and I'll take it from there." "That's not how this works," she said. "You can't go near her yet. He's watching every move, your accounts, your car, even your phone. You think that call yesterday was luck?" I didn't answer. She walked to the table, picked up one of the flash drives, and held it to the light. "You opened both?" I nodded. Her expression tightened. "Then he knows. The second drive was bait. I didn't think she'd give it to you yet." That was the moment I realized how deep I was already in, and how much she wasn't telling me. I stood up slowly. "Start explaining, or I walk out that door and make my own way." Evelyn turned to face me, her voice dropping low. "I used to work for him. Compliance Division. My job was to hide the money. Offshore accounts, proxy boards, fake charities, I built the system he's using now. But when your daughter joined the board, she started asking the wrong questions. I tried to warn her. Instead, she went straight to him. She trusted him, I said quietly. She thought she could change him. Fix him. You raised her that way, stubborn, idealistic. That cut deeper than I expected. Evelyn sat down, folding her hands. She found out about a transaction, something we were supposed to erase. It involved a senator, a real estate deal, and one offshore account that wasn't supposed to exist. She threatened to expose it. That's when he started watching her. And that's when she came to me. I let her words hang there. Rain began tapping against the window, steady and cold. She told me about the letter, Evelyn continued. Said she needed to warn you. I told her it was too dangerous, but she wouldn't listen. The night before she disappeared, she sent me one last message, just coordinates. I went there the next morning. And she was gone. Her car was still there, her phone smashed on the passenger seat. The police wrote it off as domestic trouble, but I know better. I rubbed my temples. You think he killed her? Evelyn looked straight at me. No. I think he's using her. And now that you have those files, you're part of it. She stood, walked to the window, and lifted the curtain an inch. They'll come here next. We need to move. I hesitated. You still haven't told me what's in those accounts. What he's really after. She turned back. Power, not money. The accounts fund a network of favors, judges, politicians, law enforcement. People who owe him. He doesn't need wealth anymore, he owns decisions. Her eyes met mine. And your daughter found proof of it. The room went silent except for the rain. I thought about the man I used to call a friend, how he'd smiled while signing me out of my own company, how he'd walked away as I sat in ruin. I'd thought that was the end of his betrayal. Turns out, that was just rehearsal. Evelyn grabbed her coat. There's a car out back. We need to reach the west side before sunrise. I have a contact there who can keep us hidden until tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, I said. She nodded. And tomorrow, your daughter's going to make her move. Something inside me shifted then, the years of bitterness hardening into something sharper, cleaner. I'd spent a lifetime building things, losing them, surviving. But this was blood. Before we left, I looked once more at the photo of my daughter. Her smile frozen in sunlight, unaware of the storm that waited ahead. I'm not letting him win twice, I said. Evelyn gave a faint smile, almost sad. Then you better be ready for what she's about to do. I didn't know it yet, but by dawn, I'd see just how far she'd gone to protect me, and how close she was to crossing the same line I once swore I'd never cross again. We left the motel before dawn, slipping into the backstreets while the city was still half asleep. The rain had stopped, but the pavement glistened under the streetlights like a mirror of what we were running from. Evelyn drove, steady hands, eyes fixed on the road, while I watched the skyline fade behind us. Chicago was shrinking in the rearview, but what waited ahead felt larger, darker. We didn't talk for the first hour. The hum of the engine filled the silence. I studied her profile, the way her jaw tightened every time we passed a car too slowly. When I finally spoke, it wasn't a question, more a confession. She used to think I was invincible, I said quietly. When her mother left, I told her nothing could touch us if we stuck together. And now she's out there, alone, cleaning up my mess. Evelyn didn't look over. You didn't make this mess. He did. No, I said, but I taught him how. She glanced at me then, a flicker of something that might have been pity. You still think this is about you? It isn't. He's moved on from revenge. This is about control. Her words hung between us. Control. That was the one thing I'd always thought I understood, the art of keeping chaos at arm's length. Yet here I was, chasing after both. We reached the west side just as the sky turned gray-blue. A derelict warehouse sat at the edge of the river, her contacts place. Inside, the air smelled of oil and cold metal. A man waited near a folding table cluttered with laptops and cables. He looked ex-military, calm, expressionless. "This is Marcus," Evelyn said. "He's clean. We've worked together before." Marcus gave a short nod. "You brought the files." I handed him the drives. He plugged one in without a word. Lines of code scrolled across the screen, too fast for me to follow. Evelyn leaned over his shoulder. "She was right," he muttered. "Everything's connected, offshore accounts, political donations, even a defense contractor. It's a spider web." "What about her?" I asked. He switched windows, opened a folder marked CCTV, May 27th. A video played, my daughter, entering an underground garage, alone. A timestamp from 48 hours ago. She stopped near a black SUV, glanced around, then disappeared behind a column. Seconds later, 2 men followed her in. The footage cut out. "That's the last frame we've got," Marcus said. My throat tightened. Where was this? Sublevel garage under the company's main office. The system wiped itself right after. I turned to Evelyn. "You said she was safe." "She was," she said quietly. "Until last night." That was the moment I realized, every delay, every plan, every coded warning, had been designed to keep me distracted while something else unfolded. Marcus looked up. "We found something else, a scheduled transfer. Midnight tonight. He's moving all the money out, every account tied to his name. After that, he disappears. And my daughter? She's the leverage. He won't let her go until it's done." Evelyn crossed her arms. "Then we stopped the transfer." Marcus hesitated. "That's suicide. He's got private security, and at least one law enforcement contact on payroll." I spoke before either of them could argue. "Where's the server?" Marcus hesitated, then pointed to a location on the screen, the downtown office tower that used to bear my name. "Of course. He kept the core system right where it started," I said. "He always liked symbols." Evelyn gave me a hard look. "Then you know the layout." "I designed it," I said. The plan came together fast, too fast. Evelyn and Marcus would infiltrate from the basement access, use her old credentials to reach the server room. I'd create a diversion in the lobby. The goal wasn't to destroy the data but to copy it, send it to a journalist Evelyn trusted. "If we do this right," she said, "we get the proof, save her, and end his network in one night. And if we don't?" Marcus closed the laptop. "Then we don't wake up tomorrow." We prepared in silence. I changed into dark clothes, left the revolver holstered but ready. Evelyn handed me an earpiece. "Stay on channel 1. If something goes wrong, you run. Promise me." I didn't answer. We reached the building just before 11. Security was lighter than I remembered, new faces, but the same glass and steel arrogance. I stepped through the revolving door like I belonged there. Muscle memory. The guard at the desk looked up. "Evening, sir. Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Mr. Kellen," I said, using his real name for the first time in years. The sound of it nearly made me choke. He frowned, checked a list, found nothing. I smiled, leaned in. "He'll want to see me. Tell him it's Rhodes." The name hit him like a spark. He hesitated, then picked up the phone. While he spoke, I watched the mirrored walls around us. In one reflection, near the elevator bank, I saw Evelyn slip through a service door. She didn't look back. The guard hung up, uneasy. "He's on his way down." Perfect. I stepped aside, pretending to study a framed photograph of the company's founding, him and me shaking hands, years younger. My stomach twisted at the sight. A minute later, the elevator dinged. The doors opened, and there he was, sharp suit, same calm arrogance, like the years hadn't touched him at all. "David," he said, smiling. "I was wondering how long it would take you to crawl back." I didn't respond. He came closer, too close, lowering his voice. "You've been busy. I've seen the downloads. You think you can outplay me again?" "I'm not here to play," I said. He chuckled. "Then why come here?" "To beg for her back." My jaw clenched. "Where is she?" He glanced toward the security camera above us. "Right where she belongs, cleaning up your legacy." Behind his words, I heard the faintest static in my earpiece, Evelyn's voice, whispering, "We're in." I kept my face neutral. "You made your point. Now it's my turn." He leaned in, lowering his voice to a hiss. "You were finished the day I signed you out of that company. You just didn't know it yet." I smiled faintly. "Then maybe tonight's your turn to learn what finished feels like." He frowned, sensing something shift. Then the lights flickered. Once. Twice. Evelyn's voice came through, "Steady now, transfer intercepted. Upload in progress. 30 seconds. Kellen's expression hardened. "What did you do?" The monitors behind the front desk began flashing, numbers, account codes, files streaming to public servers. The guard panicked, picked up his radio. Kellen turned toward the elevators, but I stepped in his path. "Not this time," I said. That was when I heard the scream over the comms, Evelyn's voice cut off mid-word. I froze. Marcus came through instead, shouting, "They found us." Then static. Kellen smiled slowly. "You didn't think I'd leave the vault unguarded, did you?" He pressed a button on his watch. Sirens blared. The building locked down. I lunged at him, years of restraint breaking all at once. We crashed into the desk, the revolver skidding across the floor. He grabbed my collar, hissed, "You never learn, old man." I slammed my fist into his ribs. He staggered back, hit the glass wall, it cracked like ice. Then I saw it, a security feed looping on the monitor. Basement camera. Evelyn down, motionless. 2 men dragging my daughter into the frame. And for the first time in years, I felt something I'd buried deep, fear so sharp it almost broke me. I realized I hadn't come to destroy him. I'd come to trade places.